Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Plaistow Board of Selectmen meeting for March 15th, 2021. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Beth, may I have a roll call, please?
Select Vice Chair, Mr. Talion.
Here.
Selectman Mr. Blinn.
Here.
Selectman Mr. DeRoche.
Here.
That's our current selectman
And
at the moment. And joining us remotely, we have Town Manager, Mr. Pearson.
And Julian and Francine are excused. Okay. So would you all please stand, and Selectman Blinn, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
So we're going to just start off. We're going to read this. The Board of Selectmen, in accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, is authorized to meet electronically. The BOS is utilizing the GoToMeeting program of the GoToMeeting platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously and join the meeting with throughout the GoToMeeting program, and the public has access to contemporarily listen to the meeting. The link to the meeting is provided on the town website. The public may call for comment during the public comment portion of the agenda by dialing 603-382-5200, extension 290. You can also watch the meeting on cable TV channel 17 or live stream the meeting at livestream.com/Plaistow. If you would like to make a comment or ask a question by email, please send your comments to bhossack, H-O-S-S-A-C-K, @plaistow.com. Questions or comments that are received by 3 p.m. on the day of the meeting will be read at the meeting. Okay. So our first item is to approve the minutes of the March 1st, 2021 meetings. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 1st, 2021.
Okay. Do I have a second? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All abstained? So it's 3-0-0. You don't get to vote yet, sorry. You will very shortly.
That's right.
Okay. Is there anybody here for public comment? Okay. That not saying, we'll proceed with our agenda. So our first agenda item is the election of chair and vice chair position. And I would humbly like to place my name in nomination for the position of chair. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Yes.
Do you want to swear in the new selectmen?
Oh, yes, you're absolutely
Probably a
correct.
good idea.
You're absolutely correct. Absolutely. I had these mixed up. So we will do that first. So we have two brand-new selectmen, Bill Coy and Darrell Britton. Darrell comes with an experience of about 20 years ago that you were a selectman.
96 was when I left.
Yeah, wow. So that's a long time. So that we welcome that additional experience. We also welcome Bill's experience on the rec commission and different things he's done within the town. And I would ask John Blinn if he would give the oath of office to Darrell.
I will do that.
Yes, if you'd like to, you can do it in the front there. Just move around the front here, and that way.
State your name. I, Darrell Britton, do solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm.
I solemnly and sincerely, let me get my glasses.
I, Darrell Britton, do solemnly, sincerely swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all duties incumbent upon me as selectman for the town of Plaistow. Accordingly, to the best of my abilities, agreeable to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Hampshire. So help me God.
Congratulations, Darrell.
Thank you.
And while we're waiting, we'll have Jay DeRoche will swear in Bill Coyle. Coy.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I state your name. You solemnly and sincerely swear.
Do solemnly and sincerely swear.
And affirm that I will bear faith. Affirm that I will bear faith.
Affirm that I will bear faith.
In true allegiance to the United States of America.
And true allegiance to the United States of America.
And the state of New Hampshire.
And the state of New Hampshire.
And will support the Constitution thereof, so help me God.
And will support the Constitution thereof.
I state your name.
I, William Coy,
Do solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm
sincerely affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent upon me
all duties incumbent upon me
as selectman for a term of 3 years,
as selectman for a term of 3 years,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeable to the rules and regulations of this Constitution
agreeable to the rules and regulations of this Constitution,
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God.
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Hold on to the microphone.
Thank
Tom?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, this is easy. I state your name.
I, Tom Alberti,
Do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
and affirm that I will bear faith
and affirm that I will bear faith
in true alliance to the United States
in true alliance with the United States
of America
of America
and of the state of New Hampshire,
and of the state of New Hampshire,
and will support the Constitution thereof,
and will support the Constitution thereof,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I state your name.
I, Tom Alberti,
Do solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially discharge
and impartially discharge
and perform all the duties incumbent upon me
and perform all the duties incumbent upon me
as a member of the planning board
as a member of the planning board
for a term of 3 years,
for a term of 3 years,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeable to the rules and regulations of this Constitution
agreeable to the rules and regulations of this Constitution
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God.
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God.
Congratulations. Excuse me? Oh, yes, yes, I'll get that. Just on the back.
Yeah, definitely. Just need initial that. They're going to get those two. Yep, because he's getting to it right now. Okay. Hold on, flyer for the train. I'll get it.
Tom, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so now we can elect our chairs and vice chair positions, and I would humbly put my name in nomination. Do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. And all abstained? So that will be a 5-0-0. And I would also like to nominate John Blind as our vice chair. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? That motion passes 5-0-0. Congratulations, John.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you. My fellow selectmen, I wish to thank you for your support to allow me to serve as your chairman. I perceive my key duty to ensure that each of you are heard and listened to on all issues that come to hand before this board. Each of us has an equal vote and voice to be heard. Whether or not we agree on all matters should not have no bearing on how we treat each other, that being with respect, patience, and interest to what the selectman who has the floor is saying. Secondly, as moderator of our meeting, I will do my very best to ensure well thought out agendas, discussion, and orderly decisions. I value the personal time you are giving to this board, and thus my responsibility is to hold an efficient meeting. You can greatly help me by simply raising your hand when you wish to speak. I will recognize you once the current speaker has finished. In this way, we can all be heard. We are disrespecting the current speaker if we carry on side conversations, so let us focus our attention to what is being said, how it is being said, and why it is being said. Hopefully, we will all learn a few things. Each of you have a selectman's handbook that Beth and I completed. We basically put a number of things inside of it. And if you go through it and just look at the table of contents, we don't need to go through all the material, but you'll kind of get the idea that we want to help you understand and assist you in doing the job for the town. So we provided you with information from the New Hampshire Municipal Association. We provide you with information about training that is available and supported and paid for by the town for you to learn more about the rules of the state and how we comply with those rules. And then additional, there is a calendar for the entire year for meetings. And as we adjust the calendar, if you bring this book with you, we'll have the ability to be able to update the calendar together. So if there are one other thing that I wanted to mention. Inside of the third section, there is a proposed kind of a draft for the individual committees that we will be assigned to. Traditionally, the chair and vice chair take responsibility for the budget committee and for the CIP, as well as the town report. So I kind of penciled those in already. I would like to give John and Jay the ability to be able to continue with committees they were already doing if they wish to, and anything where the open position under primary or secondary is available for you to volunteer for. Typically, these meetings occur once a month or twice a month. Some of them occurred quarterly. So basically, on your particular schedule, you basically would sign up for one of these committees, and you would be, as the primary, would attend that meeting, and you would give an update to us on what happened during that committee at the Selectmen's report at the end of the meeting. Okay?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
That all being said,
Yes.
when we get to the committees,
Yep.
I would like to do the Budget Committee, because I've served several terms on the Budget Committee.
Okay. Can we discuss this?
Absolutely.
I would, if John's okay with it, I would fine to have you as the secondary. You can still attend, doesn't matter. But initially, I would like to be able to until the Budget Committee is formed and running smoothly, because there's going to be a huge changeover. There's 3 new elected positions, and there'll be 3 new appointed positions. So until I feel that they're up and running, I'd like to be able to be available. So I'm going to take the primary position until that time. But if you would, John, if you'd like to let him do the, okay,
Take
great.
over secondary.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Darrell. Jay, is there anything that you either have already or that you would like to be able to focus on?
I would like to stay with track.
Okay.
And given the Bill's experience with recreation, I would bow back to be like the alternate member if he
Okay.
wanted to have that as the primary. So
that okay
I know
with you, Bill?
Yep,
he's
that's
got a lot
fine
of
with me.
history and experience with the committee, so.
Awesome. Excellent. All right, cool. Okay, so let me just start with John. John, you were doing the Conservation Commission, the Elderly Affairs, and Old Home Day. Do you wish to still be involved in those?
Yeah, I'd like to stay on those.
Okay. So we have an open position for cable. Bill, would you like to do that?
Sure.
Okay, it's not a lot of meetings, and it's basically just focusing with Dean to make sure that things are happening. So maybe put
that's
Bill
fine.
down. Okay. And Darrell, can I put you as the alternate for cable?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Anybody, all 4 of you, anybody that is interested in conservation would like to assist John in being his secondary?
I would do it.
Okay. Great. When I was talking to Selectman Blinn this morning, he made a comment. He says, this is probably one of the oldest boards. There's 3 of us that are over 70 years old. But John does a great job. John does a great job with the elderly affairs, but we do need a secondary for him. Darrell, would you like to do that?
I would like that, thank you.
Awesome. Okay. We are in the process, we are hoping that the Energy Committee is going to continue. We have some appointments for them. And we talked with Julian Kriska, and he is still interested in belonging to that committee. So that's good in terms of membership. But we'll need a liaison for that. Anybody would like to volunteer for that?
I just had a question.
Sure.
As a selectman, can we appoint like a citizen on our behalf to a committee that they would report to us rather than, like an ex officio representative?
My gut reaction says no, but I can research it.
Okay.
I don't believe so, but they would be able to vote on behalf of the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
There's not a lot, I mean, there are some committees where we actually have a vote on, and there's like, I think there's a couple of committees that there is no vote on. But that's important that we basically have a liaison directly between the 2 boards. Okay, so anybody would like to continue with doing energy?
The only issue I'd have is I see cables the first Wednesday.
Okay,
Same time as energy.
okay,
I'd be happy doing either one, so whichever
Yep.
one.
no, that's fine.
I'll do energy too.
You'll do energy, terrific. And volunteer to be Jay's secondary for that. Once a year, we do hazmat. So it's basically just getting with the fire chief and setting up the date and working with him to get the information out. Anybody would be willing to do that for the hazmat.
Yeah, I could do hazmat.
Okay. I don't believe we have in the past assigned someone to the Highway Safety Advisory. A long time ago we did, and then we kind of went off of it. And Beth had some comments about doing that and why we would do that. Could you relate those to the rest of the board?
Well, the Highway Safety Advisory Committee hasn't met in quite a while, but I think it's a committee that should continue to meet. Sometimes I get phone calls here at Town Hall, asking to put a stop sign up on a certain road or things like that, and that's not the board's job, that's the Highway Safety Committee's job.
All right.
Great.
And
Jay has a
that's
question.
qualitative thing, yes?
I think it might be important to have this committee as well, because isn't there a study from the state that's going on as far as
There
Main
is.
Street? So I think they would have some input, so. I would say I could do it, but the time doesn't work for me as
Okay.
far as 9:30 a.m., so.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Totally
I'm
understand.
in the same boat.
Okay,
So am I.
okay. All right, we'll leave that one blank for the time being. Old Home Day, we're not sure what the plans are this particular year with the way the budget worked out, but if they do something, there is, at least we have a primary, John is the primary. Do we have anybody that would be willing to be a secondary, an alternate?
That's a strange one. 6:30 on a Sunday?
Or as scheduled.
Yeah,
Or as scheduled.
It's not too often.
No, it's not. They probably have a couple of meetings during the year.
it's probably only during a short period of the year too, right?
Yeah,
I can be secondary.
okay.
Hey, Greg,
Yes,
quick question. Going back to the Highway Safety Advisory,
yes.
do we know what the typical membership is for that? Is that like the police and the fire departments? Is there a department head that's part of that committee, and then other department heads?
The
or-
highway, Dan Lovington is I believe, the chair of it.
Okay,
And then I believe we have a representative from the police force.
yeah,
I don't know whether we have a representative from the fire department.
okay. I was just curious, thank you.
Yeah. So the planning board meets on the first and third Wednesdays, and I put my name in because that is a voting member. It's the fifth member of the planning board, which is very important. If you're interested in understanding how developments happen within our town, one of the most important things is what the planning board does to make sure that the plan is thorough, it's looked at, all the forms are in, all the questions are answered. And so basically, we're starting out with a development that we have confidence is going to be built correctly. So it's a very, very important. And if anybody would like to be able to be the alternate, you don't have to attend every meeting, but would call on you if I had a scheduled conflict. And that, again, is normally the first and third Wednesdays. Okay,
It's all yours.
okay, well, just,
I'd like to be an alternate.
oh, would you, awesome, terrific. I'll tell you, you learn an awful lot, even just after one meeting, you learn an awful lot. Dee does a wonderful job in providing all the information associated with these proposals and these plans for different construction and building.
And I think for me, being on the conservation, that it would go hand in hand.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you, John. Last year, we asked John Sherman whether he would be a representative for the Timberlane CIP. As far as I know, he probably would continue to do it if we asked him. So I put I put his name on there, and if nobody else has an issue with that, I'll contact him and see if he will continue to do it. Okay? And finally, Jay is going to need some help with the track committee. Who would like to be an alternate for the track committee?
I'll do that one.
Okay?
Yeah, who, you pointed to,
I'm going to find it out. Let's see.
The twins.
2, 3. They both have about the same number of assignments, so I'll give that to Daryl. Awesome. So that's good. And the only thing we have open right now is the Highway Safety Advisory. And so think about that one there. If anybody, please let me know, and we will get to that. Awesome.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
we may have to double check on whether or not Mr. Gwynn can be an alternate to the planning board, where he does sit on the Concom and the ZBA.
Oh, that's right. I just thought of that, yeah.
We might need to double check on that one.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right, so let's look at our schedule here. I have my minutes in front of me. All right, what did I do with it? I lost my agenda.
What are you looking for?
My agenda. I had it in front of me, and somehow it disappeared. Thank you. Okay. So we have a release of a performance bond from Hoyt Farm Road. I believe there's a package in there. And Beth, are you ready to comment on this, or is this something that the town manager needs to communicate to us?
I can help with that.
okay. Yeah, let Dee do it.
My memo.
Okay.
It's her.
You're going to need to just sit at the microphone, otherwise people are not going to hear you.
Back in 2019, Hoyt Farm Road was accepted by this board as a town road. At that point in time, they were required to post a performance bond for a period of 2 years. That 2 years has expired. Provided you with comment from both the engineer and Mr. Garlington about the performance of the road, and both agree at this time that it's fine to release that bond. In the memo, I also provided you with a draft motion if you so saw fit to use.
Okay. So let's see here.
So Dee, just a quick question. So on here, this particular road has a drainage swale?
Mm-hmm.
And is that something I thought I read in this packet that we need to maintain that going forward?
We do, like any other drainage swale that we would own along the roadside.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
And it was a town road already, right, before this issue came up?
It was corrected before it was accepted as a town.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it's been being monitored during the time of the performance bond.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion to move the letter of credit.
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
move the letter of credit performance bond that has been held since February 11th, 2019 for Hoyt Farm Road be released, returned to the issuing bank.
And do I have a second to that?
I'll second that.
Darrell will second it. Any discussion? Good. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? That's 5-0-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dee. Okay. So we have a memorandum of understanding for two similar things. One is for the vaccination site, which would be the Public Works Garage, and the other one is a reimbursement for the fire department having to do with vaccination, since we would be using personnel from the fire department to be able to deliver those shots. So, Mark, could you give us a summary of these two items?
Yes, so the first one is what we've talked about in the past, about using the Public Works Garage as a vaccination site or a point of distribution. So a while back, the Southeast Central Network Coordinator, Colleen Monks, provided me with a memorandum of understanding. I had the memorandum of understanding reviewed by legal counsel and also with our insurance carrier. There was a minor concern from our insurance carrier. They made the note on the agreement. Other than that, this is all set to be adopted. And then in the near future, we anticipate the Public Works Garage to be used as a distribution site.
Okay. So any questions to the town manager? Yes, Jay.
Hey, Mr. Pearson, it's Jay. Do we have an anticipated date, or are we just getting all the paperwork in order, and then they will come to us with when they're going to activate it?
Yes. So this has been a dynamic situation where the original plan for 2A and 2B was probably going to be, if you remember, I think in February. That date's been pushed out because of the logistics of distribution of the vaccine around the state, 1A and 1B. And I would say that in the near future, within 30 days, we're going to be contacted for the start of 2A and 2B. Yes, this is an anticipation of it, and it's coming real soon. And we'll be notified.
So, Mark, my understanding is that the town would not be responsible or be involved, excuse me, in assigning people to get their shots at that site. That would be totally handled by the South Central Public Work Network.
Well, yes and no. I mean, that's their primary responsibility, but they have asked for assistance from certain town officials. First of all, would be the fire department to monitor people after they get their shot for that short period of time that they need to be observed. There's a possibility, depending on lines, if we would need traffic control or the police. We certainly would have our health officer involved with the network, because she's a member of that, so she would be there. And you know, whatever comes up, we would just assign people. So as far as the police, if the police were assigned for the outside detail, we could use outside detail funds for that, so that would not be an additional cost to the town. I don't have clarity on fire department personnel being used for the point of distribution. I'd have to clarify that with Colleen Monks, the coordinator, to see if there's a reimbursement component for that, because right now I'm concerned with the 2021 budget. So I'll have to find out some clarity to that. And then I will talk about in the next item coming up about the fire department personnel for another reason. But I'll get back to you on the use of fire department personnel if there's going to be an additional cost.
Okay. So my question was, just for clarification, was only on registering people for shots. In other words, they will not be calling the town to get scheduled for their shots.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm very sorry, Mr. Chairman. I didn't catch the specificity of your question. So yes, the network is responsible for all of the registrations and all of the logistics leading up to coming to the garage. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah,
Darryl.
Mark, one other question. Do we have to, if the shots are given here, and do we have to provide the facility for keeping the shots in cool places and all the equipment that's necessary to do that?
Well, I mean, that's a question that I had, and I talked to Colleen about that. And so what they do is they have mobile coolers, and they'll bring whatever they need to bring. For instance, they may bring a portable refrigerator or some refrigeration units, and then they'll just lock them up, and store them there. But that's incumbent on them to control all those vaccines. We would be nothing but a site to provide space for them, to accommodate them. But we're not going to have to worry about that. That's their responsibility.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yes, John.
Mark, so if we get any questions from citizens about the vaccinations, who should we refer them to?
Well, that's a good question. Why don't I do this? Why don't I follow up with Colleen Monks, and then if there's some kind of a notification for that particular question, I'll have her coordinate with Beth, and we'll put it on our website, and we'll come up with that answer.
Good.
As you may or may not know, they have not really gone out to advertise this Plaistow location yet, because they're busy doing other things like schools and so forth right now. But I can only imagine that when the time comes, there'll be the Southeast, Public Health Network will be out there advertising, and because people need to go through them to sign up. So I think that the advertisements come in, Selectman Glenn. I have not talked about that level of depth of the discussion with them yet, because we were in the planning stages.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Jay.
Mark, one last question. The distribution, is it going to be like a drive-through distribution? Because I've taken my wife through one. I've taken my in-laws to a place where they went into and they had to sit inside. The one I took my wife to, we drove up, they gave it to her, and then we parked for like 10 minutes, and they monitored her, and then they let us go. So I'm assuming the highway garage is going to be some type of drive-through distribution?
Yes, that's what Colleen has told me is the intent was a drive-through, nothing with people to get out of their cars. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Almost the only way you could do it there.
So if there's no other questions about this, I would entertain a motion, this first motion for the MOU with the South Central Public Health Network. Would somebody want to?
Make a motion to direct the town manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding with South Central Public Health Network for the use of facilities and general equipment located at the Department of Public Garage? Okay.
Add works in there, please.
Department of Public Works?
Yeah.
144F Main Street, Plaistow, to support the expansion of public health and medical capabilities during a public health emergency for the purpose of point of distribution for the coronavirus vaccination. I further motion to designate Mark A. Pearson, town manager, as the primary point of contact for the town of Plaistow.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Bill will second it. Any further discussion?
I just have a comment. I think this is great that we're going to be able to do our part to help in this pandemic. So I think this is a really good thing that's happening in our town. So
Excellent. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Abstained? That passes 5-0-0. Mark, would you like to discuss the emergency management?
Yes. So there was another one that came in late last week, and I got it onto your agenda. It was the Plaistow Fire Department was contacted by the Department of Health and Human Services, because around the state, they are seeking assistance at their various sites. Right now, they're doing the closed distribution at schools. And so they have a program to provide reimbursement if the fire service personnel are being used to give the shots. So they do a full reimbursement with all of the pay and all of the roll-ups, with the one exception of they do not pay or reimburse for mileage and transportation. So I'm a little concerned about this also for reasons of the budget, not knowing how often they'll be called to travel and how far they'll travel and what that will cost the town. I would like a stipulation put on this that would just qualify that if there's any costs associated with this, that that be funded through the operation budget of the fire department in 2021, and not to exceed the limitations of the fire department budget. Again, if they're asked to go to Berlin and the mileage racks up and there's 4 people and so forth, it could get up into the thousands of dollars. And I don't think that the town at this point can just write a blank check for that. So I would just like to bring the board's attention to that, because as you're going to continue to hear me say as the year goes on, we've started to pay attention to line items in the first quarter that we usually don't pay attention to till a little bit later in the year, because we already know that budgets are starting out in a deficit. So I don't want to keep on adding to the deficit.
So Mark, I just have a quick question. Is this agreement in the works, or has it been finalized? Do you still have the ability to negotiate that travel concern?
Well, that's in-house, because the MOU and the agreement does not provide for reimbursement for travel. Okay. So that's the terms of their grant. The second part of this is I want you to understand that because of the uniqueness of the coronavirus and this emergency management directive from the Health and Human Services Commission, this falls into the area of a grant. And normally, depending on how much a grant is, we have to ask the board for permission to accept the grant. Now, that's been solved with a recent warrant article that I authored in my tenure, that to allow us to apply for and receive grants, provided they come to the board to be approved, depending on what the amount is. We don't know what the amount is. So if this goes over 5,000 or it goes over 10,000, there's certain triggers that the board has to approve that. What this is doing is approving this MOU in anticipation that at a future date, this is going to come back to you to accept the grant reimbursement from the state for this purpose. So this, this is a little bit unusual, because normally we apply for a grant, and then you take a vote, and then you receive the grant, and then we get the money and we do the project. This is happening in the reverse order. So as long as the board is aware that we will be coming back to you to accept the grant reimbursement at a later date, then there's no issue. But the grant language is specific and it's generic to the whole state. So I'm not able to go in there and negotiate to add mileage just for Plaistow, because that is a grant that's been written for the whole state.
That's fine. Thank you. Any other questions for the town manager? Chief?
I could add something to that as well.
Please come to the microphone. We have our fire chief here. How are you, Chris?
Thank you. So Mark is correct that it is on a grant, but the state is the awardee for the grant. They got a grant for $10 million for this. So I think that funding is going to go a pretty good distance. The other thing I think would be important for you all to understand is this ends on September 30th of 2021.
Oh.
So it's a very quick performance period.
Yep.
Most of the fire departments around here have participated or are participating in this. I don't anticipate a lot of travel expenses especially if we provide them a vehicle to drive, as far as that goes. And then to go back to the question on reimbursement. Reimbursable services, like Mark was stating, is all personnel expenditures incurred at any state-run site or state-approved site. So that would mean if we should have a pod here in Plaistow at the Public Works Garage, that would be reimbursable through this.
And would the fire personnel be required to go to other locations?
They're not required to go to any locations. This is just making sure that they have enough feet on the ground to get the job done of getting needles and arms.
Okay,
So they have a scheduling calendar that once we say, okay, yeah, we want to help out the state, we want to help out the community by providing our trained EMS staff, then our staff that qualifies for the different positions would be able to go on to their state scheduling calendar and see where they have gaps and such.
So it's not just our facility?
It's not just our facility, no. It's 80. So the two closest ones, I think, is Exeter and then Londonderry.
Yeah.
Are the two big closest ones.
It's not too
Thank you,
far.
Chief.
So.
Any questions? Yes, Jay?
I guess my question is going to be, do we have enough qualified staff to cover and still maintain public safety at the
Yes,
safety complex?
yes, we do. It's not like there's going to be 8 of them going a day. You know, it's a pretty, and that's why they're doing this, is sharing their responsibility amongst the state responders, the first responder agencies, so that it doesn't put a huge burden on any one service.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Yes, yes, John?
Would you put in for the reimbursement? For the
We
grant?
do, yeah. So they got the guidance in there, how you submit reimbursement. I think it's a little bit faster than the other one. The other one was quarterly. I don't remember the exact time on this one, but I think it's a little faster in getting the funding back. But it would be, it'd be just like a detail rate, just like the police officers go out doing details. They would get the detail rate and it'd go right back to the town.
And that's only available till September 1st?
The contract that ends September 30th, 2021. So like I said, it's a very short period. It's the state anticipating the majority of the vaccinations are going to be done by that time. And I'm assuming, this is just me assuming, that by that point, vaccinations will probably start going more towards your primary care physicians, your CVS, your Walgreens, and the state won't be carrying as much of the burden at that point. That's just my assumption of that.
Good. Any other questions? No? Darrell? Okay. Jay, any other issues? Good? Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I would like to entertain a motion for the Emergency Managed Directive, MOU. Would you like to read it?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. You want to just read the write-up?
I can, yeah. The vaccination portion of it?
Yeah, this is called it's called Draft Motion MOU Emergency Management Directive. Give him this one here.
Make a motion to direct the town manager to enter an agreement, MOU with the State of New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Resources Services, Office of the Commissioner, hereafter referred to as the state, and the Plaistow Fire Department for the provision of the aid and administration of New Hampshire Coronavirus 2019 Vaccination Plan. Furthermore, I motion to authorize Mark A. Pearson, Town Manager, to sign the Certificate of Authority and to execute any and all documents, agreements, and other instruments, and any amendments, revisions, or modifications, therefore, as they may deem necessary, desirable, or appropriate.
Great. Do I have a second?
Yep, I'll second it.
Okay, Bill will second it. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So that'll be passed 5-0-0. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, our next discussion is about the Old Day budget line. There's been a lot of discussion about are we having Old Home Day, are we not having Old Home Day? And what I wanted to just make very, very clear is that the town approved the operating budget, and our budget committee decided not to fund the Old Home Day line item, so it is actually funded with a zero amount. So what does that mean? That means that there's very likely not enough money to be able to run a full-blown Old Home Day. And we will leave it up to the committee for them to decide how they want to continue. And we would also ask our representative to work with them to basically get any decisions that or plans they have back to the Board of Selectmen so we can approve them. So if they want to have a smaller menu or whatever, we're supporting of that, but we want to be able to get the information to us so that we can make that approval. And make it very, very clear that there are no other funds. This was a budgeted item, and it was decided not to be budgeted this year. Is there any other comments? Yes, Jay?
Isn't there not a warrant, but a trust fund that if there's money raised for Old Home Day, it could go into this trust fund, or did that not pass?
Okay, so
Was that set up a couple of years ago?
That fund exists.
Yeah.
That fund exists, and it is for donations from vendors that will go into that trust fund. What didn't pass was taking money from the tax base and putting it into that fund, trust fund. Because of the way the trust fund was written, it was basically, its purpose was only to accept donations from vendors. So if they did raise money that way, they might be able to do some type of function. Okay. Yep. Any other questions? Yes, John?
Yes, so when we have our next meeting, we probably would try to decide what we're going to have. So if we do decide to have whatever something on the green and fireworks, should we put together a cost and submit it, what we think we would need to do what we come up with?
Absolutely. Yep.
And
we want to support that committee, but we want to make sure that they are aware of this, because there were some statements out there saying that we're going to have the full-blown, do everything that we have done in the past, and that there is some $20,000 that's not going to be available. And that's significant. We just want them to be aware of that, and we will be happy to work with them in whatever plans they have. But they should be conveying the plans to us. Expenditures, to my understanding, have to be approved by the select board from that trust fund. I'm sorry, I think Jay was first, and then I'll get to Darrell.
I just wanted to, we haven't had fireworks for the last couple of years, and I know that money has been encumbered, so is that money still available to put towards fireworks if we went ahead with that?
I
And
believe
maybe
you
Mark
can only
can answer that.
you
I don't
can
know.
only encumber funds for 1 year. You
For 1
can't
year.
hold on to them for multiple years.
Okay.
So I do not believe, I did ask that same kind of question, and I was told, no, there are no funds for fireworks
Okay.
per se. Yes, Darrell?
As I remember, the number was, from the Budget Committee, it was $22,500.
Yep.
And the reasoning behind that, obviously, is we felt as though that with the corona going, and the amount of time it takes to put something like that together, time was running out. That, coupled with the fact that we didn't know where we were going to be vaccination-wise, and to have large gatherings here, just didn't make a lot of sense. I don't know, where it's not encumbered from year to year, obviously.
No, it's not.
I don't know, that's an awful lot of money for any of us to look at and find in the budget. We're not talking a couple of $1,000, we're talking $22,000. And I think that, as Mark said, right now we're running in a deficit. So finding extra money is going to be very, very difficult.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, John?
My other question would be, in past years, we would set up the concessions on the green, and that money would go to the Historical Society. Is there any way that we could come up with if we solicited money, and could we use that and put it in a Old Home Day fund, rather than just going through all the trouble and then giving it away to the Historical Society, and we end up with virtually nothing.
So my question would be, how is the trust fund composed? How is it written? And does it have a purpose that the money would go just to the Historic Society? I didn't know whether that was a decision of the committee to take those funds and bring it to the Historic Society, or whether that was part of the trust fund purpose. If it's part of the trust fund purpose, then you can't raise money that way and do it on a home day. You would have to let the money flow to it. But if it's open, it's basically saying we can take donations and then spend it on Old Home Day, then it would be open to do that. So we would need to be able to look at the actual verbiage of the trust fund. Are you aware of that at all, Jay? The trust fund for the Old Home Day?
Oh, I was gonna try to look it up right.
Okay. Yes,
But it
yes,
might be
Bill.
worth tabling this until after they meet, until after Old Home Day meets.
Yeah, because that was,
Try to figure out a plan.
the question I was going to have is, how big are they planning on having Old Home Day? Are they still looking at the full-blown Old Home Day with the parade and the fireworks?
We've been talking about maybe doing a scaled-down version. Nothing is certainly etched in stone, but that's what we were, thinking about, and having some vendors and making on the green, but keeping
Yes.
them their distance, and maybe trying to see, and having the fireworks.
Yeah.
I thought I was told that the fireworks were paid for, and
Okay.
we could, do that at any time.
Yeah, because I would almost think, because the parade's probably the biggest expense, right? Getting everybody in there, and the parade could probably be a tough thing to pull off.
The parade, we didn't discuss that. That would be very difficult.
Right, and the vendors kind of pay for themselves, right?
Okay. Johnny, are you finished your comments?
Yep.
Wendy Bush is on the speakerphone.
Yeah,
And Wendy, can you please just try to talk a little bit louder?
Hi, this is actually Haley Bush.
Haley, I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm chairman of the Plaistow Home Day Committee, and I just so happen to be watching, so I kind of wanted to fill you guys in basically on what we're talking about here. So, as you know, the committee is meeting March 21st in regards to what we plan to do as far as an Old Home Day this year. Obviously, we couldn't have one last year because of COVID, but we do want to hold one in person this year. Obviously, the town green is a small space, so we've been looking into other other places around town that could possibly hold the capacity of what Old Home Day does. I've been in talks with the Timberlane School Board, as long as with the maintenance there, to possibly use the high school fields in the back. So right now, we're kind of in the beginning stages. I understand that the budget isn't there, and that's something that I plan to go in front of the selectmen and discuss. We definitely aren't having a parade this year, and that's pretty much almost 2/3 of our budget. So we definitely wouldn't need that $22,000 this year. I don't know what you guys think. This is definitely something that I was going to come down within the next week to discuss.
So Haley, could you get in touch with me at after the meeting? If you can copy down my telephone number, my home number is 382-7239. My name is Greg Talon.
7239, okay.
And we'll schedule you on one of the agendas of the future meeting. In the meanwhile, the next time that you have a meeting, we'll basically ask John Blinn to bring back a summary of what you guys discussed. But we want to work with you. We just want to be very, very clear that unfortunately there was no funding for this directly. Okay?
Right, and that's what I'm nervous about, because I know last year, obviously, with the pandemic, we weren't able to have it, but I feel like once this happens year after year, it's hard to get it back. Mm-hmm. So you can understand, like, I'm nervous that, because we didn't have it last year, obviously, but this year, where even today, things are starting to open up, and, things are starting to get easier, I'm scared that we're never going to get this budget back.
Well, I wouldn't be so. I think things are going to come back, and I think this is something that the town does appreciate having. And so I'm really hoping that this will be funded through the next budget committee, and we will get back to a normal process. But
Right.
please get in touch with me, and we'll put you on one of the agendas. Thank you so much for calling. We really appreciate
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Have a good evening. Good night.
You too, bye-bye.
Okay. Well, that was pretty good. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Yes.
So in your folder, you should have another draft motion, and it says pay invoice Memorial Bridge. That is something that we did not discuss when we set the agenda last week, but time being of the essence, and it was brought to my attention, I think, after we had a meeting. And I'd like to be able to speak on that if the board would allow me, because this is one of those urgent matters.
Is that something okay with everybody?
Yep.
It's in the packet.
Okay. Go ahead,
Okay.
Mark.
So before you is the motion, draft motion, and behind it is some documents to support it. If you flip the page and go to the one that says DOT, you'll see a bunch of notes there. So the long and short is, and I'm gonna make a long story very short. Back in 2014, the town replaced the bridge on Garden Road. Somehow, between 2014 and, if you can believe it, 7 years later, the DOT did some kind of an audit. And they basically pinned that the town owes a balance of $2,250,
$50,
right. 2250.38. We argued till we could not argue anymore. We said that it wasn't fair. You can't just call us 7 years later and say, oh, you owe money from 2014. Why didn't you tell us sooner? You don't understand that the budget process is, we don't have an account for this. We don't have the funds for this. You know, we made every argument, every valid argument, because it's the truth. I mean, I got here in 2017. So how am I supposed to know about something happened in 2014? But, you know, it lands on my desk nonetheless. So I can tell you that Laurie Sadowitz, who was here in 2014 and has been dealing with them demanding that we pay, was able to at least tell them, look, you need to wait until after our town meeting so we know where we're at with the budget. And they were making threats to turn us over to the Attorney General's office for collection and to stop any further grants to the town. So they pushed it off as long as they could, but they need an answer by March 18th, or this is going to go to legal, to the Attorney General's office, and put all of our grants in jeopardy. So I discussed this with our finance director, and he and I both agree that this is a option to use the contingency fund, because this is, in fact, unanticipated. I mean, you didn't anticipate it, I didn't anticipate it, the town didn't anticipate this. Okay. So we have funds there that can be used for this purpose, and I think it's our recommendation, although it is one of those hold your nose things. I think we have to comply with this, because to litigate this, to delay this would not be in the best interest of Plaistow.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion, make this motion so that we can then discuss it and then vote on it. So would someone please make this motion?
Make a motion to direct the town manager to pay invoice number T713711. The original invoice is from 2014. It was the work and was for work done on the Memorial Bridge on Garden Road. The state of New Hampshire has completed an audit and found the invoice to be collectible and valid per the town's agreement with them. The fund should come from the contingency fund, as the invoice is from 7 years ago and is unanticipated.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, John seconds the motion, so it is now open for discussion. Darrell?
Yeah, you're right. You have to hold your nose in this one. I mean, I really hate paying this thing. I mean, absolutely hate to pay this thing. But, it'll cost us far more than $2,200 to litigate it, so.
Right.
I think we have to move forward with it.
Any other comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstain? So that passes 5-0-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mark. So the next agenda item, would like you to look in your books. It's the second section, and it has a 13-month calendar in it. And I'm not going to go through to a lot of detail here, but what I did was take advice both from Julian when he was a selectman and from Jay, saying that we are putting a lot of new meetings on the calendar. So what I tried to do is, in the quiet parts of the year, 2 meetings per month, and then as we come into the budget season, move it to 3 meetings all the way through January. And then the only exception would be where we have a Monday holiday. And we can start with that, and if we feel the need to put in additional meetings, we can, and if we have the need to be able to remove a meeting, we can do that as well. What I would ask from all of you would be, if you know you are going to be taking vacation, I want you to take the vacation, but I'd like you to just let us know so that we can actually mark that in the calendar. And the reason we want to do that is if we have a very substantial decision to make, we'd like to schedule it when you are here, not when you're on vacation, okay? So if you have any comments on this, if you feel like it's too many meetings or not enough meetings, please let me know. But at least it gives you a starting point where we can schedule your time, okay? Any other comments about meetings?
Well, I know I'll be out, I'm not gonna be here the last week in April.
Last weekend of April, okay?
I'm gonna be gone the 23rd through, I won't be available the 26th.
Okay. Great. And as soon as it gets cold, we'll know that John will be gone.
You can always come in on Zoom.
Yeah, I can probably Zoom, I'll be sitting on the beach, so.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah, that's what you want to do, laying on a beach in the Bahamas
Yeah.
and zooming.
Well, I wish it were the Bahamas, it's not quite.
Well, the good thing is my summer vacation falls in between meetings. so
Nice.
that-
Nice. That's great. Yes, Dave.
Well, I'm okay with this. I just, my thing, and I'll just bring it up for discussion, but, a weekly meeting, I know we don't have, unless we have tons of items on the agenda that, might be a long meeting, maybe we have a second meeting, but I don't know, I'm a young, old school, I kind of like the weekly meetings, but that's just me. And I just put it out there. I didn't know what anyone else thought about that.
Okay.
So.
I agree. If only from the standpoint is that sometimes 2 weeks get you behind the 8 ball,
Yeah.
This time of year, it's not too bad, but I think as the spring and summer starts to roll in, it gets there's a little bit more going on. As the budgets get tighter, there's a little bit more going on. And
Right.
I was never in favor of each of us trying to come in and talk with the town manager individually and try to have the chairman trying to carry that on as if it was a meeting. So
Yeah.
I think, I'm willing to roll with it the way it is right now, but
Okay.
we'll see how it rolls out.
Absolutely. Terrific.
just-
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
and just be
input.
flexible going forward in case you have to meet more.
Right.
Excellent. All right, so our last item,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
If I could just speak on that. So,
Sure.
I will tell you that, the previous Board of Selectmen that went to, the bi-monthly schedule was that we found that there were times where to just have a meeting every week, there wasn't even enough on the agenda, and we found that the board was coming in and, you know, the comments were, why are we coming in for one or two things? We're just looking for work. So that's why the board went to bi-monthly, with the understanding that when there's certain times of year that the pace is picking up, then they would go to the every week. And as I shared with the chairman when he discussed this with me, I told him that when staff turns around a meeting on Monday night and then has to assemble all the information for the following Monday night, you could say that we almost start right away on Tuesday, and it eats up Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then to get packages to the board, and it cuts down on productivity in certain departments. That's not to say that if we have meetings every week that we would do that. It's just that we found it was more economical during the slow times, and it was also in consideration of the Board of Selectmen members so that they could take vacations with their family and they could plan out, you know, that schedule that you just talked about. So it was beneficial to both the board and to staff to spread out these meetings and then always reserve the right to have them more frequently as the workload increases.
Thank you, Mark, for that input. Appreciate it. So the next item we were going to talk about is our award contract for the repair of the landfill cover and cap. This information was emailed, I believe, to all of you. Did both, Bill, did you get yours?
I did.
And Daryl, did you get yours? Bill, you might have got multiple copies. And we're setting up your Plaistow.com accounts, so once those are set up, then it'll be much simpler. And if you wish to have email from the town sent to both of those accounts, that's fine. Just let Beth know, because that sometimes happens just in terms of printing or whatever. We can put you on the distribution list with both addresses. So
I find this semi-humorous, because Buzzy, myself, were on the board that capped the dump.
So and it's capping it again, right?
We're back.
Right.
We're back. So Mark, can you give us a summary of what we're looking here at doing?
Yes. Oh, my comment to Selectman Britton is I only wish that you created a capital reserve fund so that we could have had the money to fix this now. And that'd be something that we can talk about going forward for another 20 years to see, you know, if there's, if we need to plan for money, because this is going to be a perpetual thing here.
It wouldn't have mattered, Mark, you'd have spent it.
No, we wouldn't. It'd be in a capital reserve fund. You can't.
I'm only kidding you, Mark.
Okay. So I hope that Sanborn Head is either on the call or remoting in right now. I don't know if they are, Dean. Can you tell if they're here?
Kelly Anderson is online.
Okay. Hi, Mark. Well, hi, Kelly. Kelly, let me just do a brief intro, and then you can take it over from here. We, just for the benefit of the new selectmen, the quick story is that when we knew we had to at least talk about addressing this cap issue, we went to Norman Doe, who hooked us up with Sanborn Head, who specializes in this type of engineering and is a quite, you know, a qualified expert in the area of landfills. So Kelly Anderson and Eric Steinhauser from Sanborn Head have been assisting the town with the preliminary permitting and engineering that led to this spreadsheet here. And then from the spreadsheet, I put together the warrant article for the $575,000. Town meeting has approved that. And what you have now is the spreadsheet of all of the prices that came in. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have six people that turned in proposals prior to the warrant article. I used these prices so that I could author the article to come in, you know, try to come in with enough funding to move this project forward. This was contingent upon town meeting. Town meeting voted in the affirmative, and I will turn it over to Kelly at this time.
So Mark asked me to be online, basically to describe the project to the selectmen who may not be familiar with it and to answer any questions regarding the construction. So I can go in deep or keep this as brief as you guys would like. As Mark indicated, Sanborn Head has been working with the town for almost a year now, coming up with new grading plans for the landfill. The existing final cap has settled and caused some stormwater ponding. So our new plan is to go out and make modifications to the stormwater system around the landfill and to adjust the grades in the area of the ponding. Recently, last week, we've got the alteration of terrain permit from the NHDES, and prior to that, about a month ago, we got the solid waste management bureau permit modification application. So our permits are in line and ready to go upon approval of this. So I don't know if you guys have questions, would like a further explanation of what we're proposing to do.
Kelly, can I ask the question in terms of all of these different, the 6 companies, is there, I don't want to put you on the spot, but are you comfortable with their ability to be able to perform that same task for the work that's being defined?
Yeah, T. Ford had the apparent low cost estimate for the project, and their qualifications included the minimums that were added into the RFP. So nobody in that package was outstandingly unqualified.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Yes, Bill.
The one question I would have, just looking at the T. Ford proposal when it comes to like the alternate ads, I see like the removal of tires. Everyone else is kind of in the same ballpark, but then I see T. Ford is like 75,000.
So the alternates were not included. We asked for pricing on that to get an idea if they were something the town wanted to move forward, and Mark can clarify or not, but they were not included in the warrant article. I believe Mark had just included the base bid.
Yes. So let me try to explain how we approach this. Our goal was fix the cover, the cap. It's referred to as a cover or a cap. So we asked for the price, the proposal cost estimates for that. And while we were dealing with them, we said, well, what if we said, what would you charge us to take down the salt shed? And what would you charge us to take away the tires? So that we could get some costs out there. But tonight, you're simply voting on the award of the contract to the lowest proposer, T. Ford, for the work of fixing the cover over the cap. Now, that's not to say, because we wrote the warrant article to include possibly taking down the salt shed and possibly taking the tires away, depending on the funding. And the reason why I'm hedging my speech here is that I just want to explain to the board. So the lowest cost is $412. The warrant article was $575. So what the other thing that we have to include in, and that is Kelly and I, Sanborn Head and I negotiating the cost for the engineering oversight of the construction that needs to be done for this project. And we are still working, or we haven't met to negotiate, but we will. And then there's a 20% contingency in there's at least a thought of having a 20% contingency. So the numbers go way over the 575. So we can only do so much. We definitely, if you take the lowest cost, and then we factor in the engineering that we have to do, and you factor in contingency, we're going to be right at the 575. So our goal is to come in with less for engineering, less for contingency, and to remove the salt shed and then see what we can remove for tires.
I have a question.
Yes, Darrell.
You're showing, or you're saying that T Ford is the low bidder, but if you included everything, Sergeant Corp is the lowest bidder. I have
Okay, the answer-
I have T Ford at 504,000, and I have Sergeant Corp at 458.
Yeah, we're not asking the board to award the whole, all of the alternate bids. We're only asking the board to award the contract for the cover, and we don't even know if there's enough funds available to do the salt shed and the tires because of what I just said about the contingency and about the engineering. So we were gonna handle the salt shed takedown and the tire removal when we know what we have left for funds. And we would do the takedown of the salt shed in-house to save money. And then we would look to one of these contractors or some other contractor for the removal of tires. So I understand what you're saying, but we're not asking you to pick somebody to do the project and to take down the salt shed and to take away the tires because there's simply not enough money for the engineering and the contingency if you do that.
Oh, I see.
So the low number does or it doesn't include the contingency? It does not. Okay. So we've got another $100,000 on top of the 504, roughly. So that makes it roughly 604, 605 is the number, not counting engineering, Mark?
You're using the 504, you'd be using the 414, the 412 number.
Okay.
So minus that from 575 would give you 163 left.
But you
And
have
then
20%
whatever
contingency.
engineering would be covered by that. If there's anything left, then you could use that to do the other two tasks.
But you've got to include the contingency in the contract,
And that's the 412 is the base number.
right? So that means roughly 80,000.
What's left would cover the contingency and the contract for the construction oversight by Sanborn Gas.
Okay. And we feel as though there's enough money for that.
That's what was approved in the warrant article.
Okay. So Mark, what happens if it overruns?
Well, the answer is it won't overrun because I will not let it overrun because we're only going to do the work we can afford.
Well, it's a noble thought, but once you're right in the middle of the project, you can't stop the train. I mean, the only way I see it being sure is if you can get the contingency down to 10%.
Well, yeah, you're correct. You're correct. And so that's why I'm only asking you to approve the T Ford because I need to negotiate with Sanborn Head for the construction oversight. And then we have to make sure that the contingency does not exceed the value of the warrant article.
And Mark, what did you say you thought Sanborn was going to be?
Well, I don't want to negotiate on TV, but our preliminary estimates that they had asked for was 110. Or Kelly, why don't you tell me what your original proposal was?
I couldn't hear her.
She's looking it up right now.
Okay.
The original proposal we provided the town with was
99,300.
Okay.
Could you say that one more time, Kelly?
What was that, sir?
99,300.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me tell you what I think, and I talked to Kelly and I asked her to do some valued engineering with me, is my numbers are just rough numbers. I said 415 for the, T Ford. I know it's 412, but I'm just doing rough math. And if I could get, if Kelly and I could value engineer their engineering contract with, to 85, then we would be at 500. And then if we could get the contingency to be 10% and not 20%, then we would be at 541. So as you can see, it's going to take some valued engineering here on my part to make this project come in under budget. And that's what I fully intend to do. And I'm going to ask Kelly to work with us to see if we can value engineer their participation so that we can, make this project come in. Now, why is this so tight, and why didn't I ask for more money? Well, the answer is there comes a point in time where the more you ask for, the harder it is to get passed. So I really crunched the numbers tight, and I crunched them to 575 because I think that if Sanborn Head works with us, and I think that if we don't have a lot of contingency, I think we can get the project done, and I think we can take down the salt shed, and I think we can remove some tires. I don't think we can remove all of them, but I think we can remove some of them.
So I have a question to the board. We do not have to go with the recommended vendor. Does anybody have any reason to think that they would want to go with a different vendor than T. Ford?
No.
John? Jay?
I guess I have a question around the warrant article. Can I ask that question?
You can. Can you answer mine first?
Um,
I just want to know if we're all talking about the same vendor.
I'm fine. I understand. I read the whole packet, so I understand that they're recommending the T. Ford, and I understand that we're not doing the...
Right. Are you comfortable with T. Ford? You can ask any additional
comfortable with them,
questions you want.
but I want to ask a question about the warrant article. So.
You can. Yep,
Okay.
you can. Bill, are you comfortable, or do you wish to go to any other vendor?
Yes, I'm comfortable with it. The only thing is when you do take a look at, like, say, Sargent, you see that 458 number includes everything.
450, you're looking at which one? At Sargent?
Sargent.
And this is 431 versus 412.
Right, but if you look down at, say, the 458, that's also the salt shed and the tires.
Right. But all we're looking at right now is just that first number, the 431
Yep.
or the 412.
No, that part I get. So, I mean, for that, obviously, I'm good with T. Ford.
Okay. So if that is the case, I just want to whittle down that we're at least on this one vendor, and then if we have additional questions, which I know Jay does for the warrant, please open that up, Jay.
The warrant article has 5 separate things, and it doesn't, the way it reads, it doesn't leave it open for optional pieces, is the way I'm reading it, Mark.
So it was worded specifically to put them in the order of importance until the funding runs out. So in other words, number 5, I believe there's 5, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe there's 1 through 5. And I think was number 5, the removal of the tires?
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay,
Right, but
so
it
we're
doesn't
going to work from the front end. We're going to do the work on the cap, and then there's going to be engineering, and then there's going to be contingency, and then there would be the removal of the salt shed, and then we would exhaust the funds to the extent of the tire removal. So it was specifically worded in order of priority.
All right, it has them listed out 1 through 5. It doesn't specify the priority, but I understand what you're saying, so. All right.
I mean, I'd be comfortable with T. Ford. I just, before I would vote and say, yes, let's move forward, let's get the final negotiation and the final number and know where we are.
Are you talking about the final number for both the tires and the salt shed?
Well, he still has to negotiate contingency. He has to negotiate the Sanborn, okay? I just want to see the final number.
Okay.
Once that's negotiated completely. This is just a number for T. Ford. This is include the negotiations for, again, contingency or the engineer.
It's a piece of the whole pie, right?
Right. I don't want to vote yes on a piece of the pie. I want to vote yes on the whole thing.
Okay. Dee,
The voters.
you need to come to the microphone.
the voters have kind of said what the whole pie is going to be, and that's at 575. The 412 for Ford, if we don't start moving forward with the contract, we're going to fall out of the ability to do it this year because of the things they have to do to start roll-up
Right.
for doing this. So that's why we're asking you at this point in time to just approve the construction contract for T Ford at the 412, not including the alt ads.
So in other words, you're looking for a vote here for the 412?
Just for the 412 for the contract for T Ford.
Nothing else?
Nothing else.
Okay.
Any additional questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'd entertain, we already entertained the motion, so all in favor of selecting T Ford?
I don't
I'm sorry?
think you,
No,
I don't think
we
you read
didn't.
the motion.
We didn't do the motion, did we? So I would entertain a motion, the draft motion that we have been, for the landfill final cover repair. Anyone would like to make that motion?
Well, I'll make a motion that
Okay.
it's fairly easy, that we use the number of $412,120.
There's a draft motion in the memo that was provided to the
Right on the
board.
memo,
Okay,
Yeah, it's on the first page of that.
okay,
see it? It's in the bottom there.
okay. I
Highlighted.
move that the contract for the landfill cover project be awarded to T Ford for the amount of $412,120 as submitted in this proposal. It is noted that this amount does not include the 2 alternate items initially proposed in the RFP for this project.
Second the motion. Any second?
Yep, I'll second it.
Okay, Joel will second it. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500, the motion carries. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Dee.
So just one comment, Mr. Chairman?
yes.
So I fully intend on bringing a contract back to the board with respect to Sanborn Head for the engineering. So I will follow up with that, but thank you for this vote tonight because, as you know, construction companies need a little time to prepare for this, and we're just trying to get this approved, to get them ready to start the project and to do it in the best possible weather, in the middle of this summer. So thank you.
Okay.
Just a quick question for Mark. Mark, what's the anticipated time for the job?
Kelly, are you still online? Can you speak to that?
I am. The RFP that we put out tentatively had the contractor starting as soon as April 15th, with final completion being July 15th, substantial completion being July 15th and final completion being August 15th.
Thank you.
Mark, could you give us a summary of your town manager's report?
Well, let me see. Okay, so first thing, I'll go through real quick because I already talked about it. Kelly already indicated we've received our landfill alteration of terrain permit, which is very timely because this project can ramp up real quick. At the same time, we're dealing with Normando, and we completed a 2020 post-closure performance report, 62 pages, on a municipal landfill, which is a separate issue, but has to be filed every year. It's due by March 31st, so it is already turned in. We're waiting to see if it's been accepted, but we'll wait to see if they have any comments. Also, we're working on the MS4 stormwater task force on the permit, which is the stormwater MS4 permit, and that is due by June 21st. So again, we're ahead of all of our timelines, and we're making sure that we're on task. And incidentally, the MS4 permit, we keep track of all of our projects in town and all of our improvements and put them on the report. And we certainly will be including the landfill cap and cover and the removal of the salt shed up there to be also noted on our report. Water project kickoff meetings are starting this month. As you know, there was an intermission for the winter months. We have water operator staff interviews tomorrow all day with 2 water operators. Following that, we'll be bringing back our recommendation well, not really so much our recommendation. We'll be bringing both companies into the Board of Selectmen for a future date for interviews. There was an issue with the water project construction where there was a lot of mud from the melting around the mailbox areas, and we took care of that with Underwood Engineering and the postmaster, and we're going to get a quick resolve on that. There's a $65.1 billion piece of legislation that got passed with the federal government, which will provide aid to the cities, towns, and villages. So we're staying on top of that. That's going to roll out, to each state and to each town and city and village. We just received information from Atkinson Fire Department that they have problems with their radio and paging problems. We're a landlord, they're a tenant. We have a contract with them to provide a service. We were not aware of any problems till last week. We contacted our consultant, Peter Danute, who works for us, and he is working with two-way communications. He's worked on this problem over the weekend and today. And this is one of those cases that if we didn't know about it, we can't fix it, but we do know about it and we are fixing it. And so if you do hear anybody voicing any complaints to you as a board member, please know that this was only brought to our attention, and since it's been brought to our attention, we are addressing it and we will fix it. Dean is working on all the purchasing and licensing for the Zoom. I think he's kept the board informed. He's sitting in front of you if you have any questions. Let me just finish a couple more things on my report. There's training coming up for the new people being elected. So Laurie's going to get that out to everybody. And there's a right to know workshop that we'll make sure that Beth goes to because she's our person. But if you have any questions on the Zoom or the platforms, Dean is sitting right there in the seat.
So, Dean, is there a major change in terms of how we will be using the platform versus the GoToMeeting platform?
One of the major changes is that, from what we've been hearing, there's just more familiarity with using the Zoom interface, whether it's the meeting or the webinar. One of the major benefits for us is that they are both similar products, and any of our televised meetings, our public televised meetings going forward, will all be conducted on Zoom webinar.
Okay.
What we are still working out, which I believe we have a plan for tonight, is how we will be handling non-public sessions to make sure that those are appropriately covered and remaining non-public while we can alternate back to the public. So it's for the most part, other than those issues, it's similar to what we had before. It's all the same hardware, all the same equipment, but it's just an interface that there's more familiarity with
Thank you.
Going around.
Any other questions from the board for Dean? Okay. Great.
Jay has a question.
Do you have a
Jay,
question
yes,
for
I'm sorry.
Mark? Mr. Pearson, though. Mark, a couple weeks back, I'd asked about organizational chart and job descriptions. Is that something that, I didn't see it on your town manager's report, so I was just curious, is that something, you said about a month you could have it done?
Right. So I don't think it's been a month yet, but we worked on it right away, and we're continuing to work on it. So as soon as it's done, I will be giving it to the board.
All right, great. Thank you.
Awesome. So unless there's any other items, at this time we will be leaving public session for our meeting tonight, and we will be going into a non-public session and will not return for public preview. I will close this public meeting.
Before you close.
Yes?
There was just one item.
Okay.
Okay, and this was handed to me by Jim Peck.
Yep.
He said, as discussed, please let the Board of Selectmen and the town manager, I intend to get the landscaper again to spruce up the 7 islands on Main Street in Elm that were created by the Safe Routes to School project in 2018. I will again get 4 or 5 local businesses to pay for this. It's no cost to the town. Please let me know when this is approved so that they can move forward.
Okay.
Does anybody have a problem with that?
Can we put that on the agenda for the 3/29 meeting?
Sure, if that's what you want to do.
Okay, good.
Hey, Greg?
Yes.
I just want to, before we go into non-public, I just want to give a report on the track committee and give Mark an update. Yeah.
Certainly.
So the track committee met for the first time. We've met twice, actually. They picked their chair. We reviewed the timeline, working backwards from the end of the year to trying to come up with recommendations for the trash and recycling contract. I think draft timeline Mark had given me was like July, end of June, July, to have the recommendations. They're already hit the ground running and hoping to have recommendations by the end of April, maybe even into May. So that will help move that timeline a little quicker for Mr. Pearson. So.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Jay. All right, so we will close the public meeting at 11 minutes after 8 o'clock. Good night, and thank you for joining us. And then I would entertain a motion to enter a non-public session under RSA 91-A:3 to C, I'm sorry, not C, L, consideration of legal advice.
Motion made.
Thank you. Second? We need,
Second motion?
okay, we need a roll call. For
Mr.
that?
Tyen,
Yes.
Mr. Flynn,
Yes.
Mrs. DeRoche,
Yes.
Mr. Coy,
Yes.
Mr. Britton.
Yes.
Okay.